The world you are living in today feels like it is constantly shaking. Every day, new arguments, new fights, new opinions pull you in different directions. It feels like something is always breaking, always collapsing, always on fire. And in the middle of all this noise, you are expected to understand what is true and what is false, what is right and what is wrong. But I want you to understand something very simple. The chaos you feel outside is only a reflection of something that has already become chaotic inside human beings. You see, long ago, people did not live like this. There was a time when decisions were not made in shouting rooms or glowing screens. They were made in silence, in patience, in understanding. People would sit together, not above each other, not against each other, but with each other. And when one person spoke, others listened, not to reply, but to understand. Because in those days, the goal was never to defeat another voice. The goal was to find truth together. But now something has changed. Today, nobody listens. Everyone is preparing their answer while the other person is still speaking. Everyone is trying to win. Nobody is trying to understand. And when understanding disappears, confusion is born. That is why everything feels like conflict now, because the world has forgotten how to sit in peace with different thoughts. I remember an old man from my early life. He was not famous. He had no title. But when he spoke, even the most angry men would become quiet. One day I asked him how he stayed so calm when everyone else argued. He told me something I never forgot. He said, "A loud voice is often a lost mind." At that time, I did not fully understand what he meant, but now I see it clearly. The loudest voices in your world are not always the wisest. In fact, wisdom rarely needs to be loud. Nature itself teaches this. The tallest mountains do not shout. The deepest rivers do not scream. The strongest trees grow in silence. And the sun rises every morning without announcing itself, yet it gives life to everything. True strength is quiet. But the world you live in now rewards noise. The more dramatic the voice, the more attention it receives. The more extreme the emotion, the faster it spreads. And slowly, people start believing that volume is truth. But it is not. Noise is not wisdom. Emotion is not truth. And attention is not understanding. There is another thing you must see clearly. The further human beings move away from the earth, the more confused they become. When a person lives close to nature, he understands reality in a very simple way. You plant something, you wait. You take care of it, and only then it grows. You cannot force it. You cannot argue with it. You cannot rush it. Nature does not negotiate. But modern life has removed people from this reality. Now everything is instant. Everything is artificial. Everything is fast but disconnected. And when people lose connection with real consequences, they start living inside ideas instead of reality. That is where confusion begins. Because ideas can be twisted, reality cannot. There is another truth hidden deeper than this. Fear is one of the strongest forces inside a human being. In its natural form, fear is not your enemy. It is protection. It wakes you up when danger is near. It sharpens your senses. It keeps you alive. But fear is not meant to stay. It is meant to come and go. The problem begins when fear is no longer temporary. When fear becomes constant, it changes the human mind. A person who lives in fear every day stops seeing clearly. He starts imagining threats everywhere. He stops trusting. He stops feeling safe even when he is safe. And a human being who is always afraid becomes easy to control. This is something many people do not notice. If you keep a person in fear, You do not need to force him. He will begin to limit himself. He will begin to believe he needs saving. He will begin to follow anyone who promises safety, not because that person is powerful, but because fear has made him weak inside. That is why so much of what you see today feels heavy, not because the world is more dangerous than before, but because fear is constantly being fed into your mind. Day after day, story after story, conflict after conflict. And slowly, you stop living in the present and start living in imagined disasters. But there is something even more important than all of this. Inside every human being, there are two forces. One pulls you toward anger, jealousy, ego, and revenge. The other pulls you toward peace, kindness, patience, and understanding. And both exist inside you at the same time. People often ask which one is stronger, but the answer has always been the same: the one you feed. If you feed anger, anger grows. If you feed fear, fear grows. If you feed comparison, jealousy grows. But if you feed peace, peace grows. And the world outside cannot change that inner battle for you. No leader, no system, no voice can enter your mind and choose for you. That is something only you control. This is the part many people misunderstand. They think the fight is happening out there, between groups, between ideas, between sides. But the real fight is always inside. Because even if the whole world agrees with you, but your mind is filled with anger, you will not find peace. And even if the world is in chaos, but your mind is calm, you will not be destroyed by it. That is the real freedom most people are searching for without realizing it. Not freedom from society, but freedom from inner disturbance. So what do you do with all this understanding? You do something very simple, but very powerful. You stop giving your mind to things that destroy your peace. You stop feeding everything that keeps you angry all the time. You step back from constant noise and return to your real life. You look at the ground you walk on. You notice the people sitting next to you. You speak more about life and less about division. You build connection again, not through arguments, but through understanding. Because in the end, your life is not happening inside screens or headlines. Your life is happening right where you are sitting right now. And if you lose that, you lose everything that is real. The world may continue to shout. It may continue to divide itself. It may continue to pull attention in every direction. But you do not have to follow it. You are allowed to remain still. You are allowed to choose peace. And when a human being learns how to stay calm in a chaotic world, he becomes untouchable in a way nothing outside can control. Not because the world becomes peaceful, but because he does.